Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of In Conversation by Advisorkhoj. Today in conversation, our guest once again is Mr. Sorbh Gupta, Head Equity with Bajaj Finserv Mutual Fund. Welcome, Sorbh, to In Conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Hello.
So how's Pune doing?
Pune, the weather is wonderful. It's very pleasant and not as rainy as Mumbai and as
Yeah,
not hot as Delhi. So it's very good. The weather is very pleasant.
in fact, when I'm doing this conversation with you, I'm myself not in Mumbai, but what I hear is that there is a red alert till 30th, till today.
Yes,
In
it's
Mumbai, it's
been
been raining quite heavily.
yeah, it's heavy rains across various parts of Maharashtra.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So, Saurabh, today we connect as your Bajaj Finserv FlexiCap fund completes 2 years. And I think the fund has also seen a very good growth in its assets under management, crossing 5,000 crores. So, how has been the fund experience? Has the fund performed as per your expectations?
Very interesting question. First of all, let me start how we. So it was a first fund of a very new mutual fund with a large brand, and now after 2 years, I can tell you there were butterflies in the stomach and how things will shape up.
Uh,
But thanks, so far so good. Our start had been good, and we had certain processes in place. Our investment philosophy in Cube, and our approach of the flexi cap, wherein we looked at some of the longer term mega trends. All of this helped us in the last 2 years. I think we have identified good names. It's a growth oriented strategy. Markets have supported growth oriented strategies in the past 2 years. So the fund experience has been very, very wonderful. In fact, for the first year, while the markets were going up, it was very less volatile, quite a smooth journey. And in fact, the targets we had for stocks over for the next 1.5, 2 years, they were coming in 6 months.
mhm.
But the latter half of the journey, the second year, has been volatile. But since we are anchoring on the longer term, things have been pretty much okay in the volatile period as well.
Excellent. Excellent. I'm so sure since September of 24, when the markets had been in a very yo-yo situation, it must have given you a lot of opportunities to make a lot of good, entry points as well.
Yes, absolutely. So, in fact, till September of 2024, it was actually increasingly getting challenging to identify stocks
Hmm.
and buy them at the price that you want to pay. In fact, post that, while large caps definitely overall have become reasonable
Hmm.
and good pockets of valuation comfort started to emerge. In fact, it started to emerge from January of this year when there was a good correction in the markets. So pockets of valuation comfort and good stocks, a combination of that started to emerge from January, and that has really helped us picking up good names for longer term.
Absolutely. Going more specific, if I were to look at your regular plan specifically, and this is the daily rolling average returns for the category as such. If you look at that, the fund has given 78% of the times more than 20% return. Okay. In the daily rolling category average return for the regular plan. And this data is as of September of 22nd, 2025. Now, as we were discussing, the markets have been very, very volatile. I think every possible activity which could have, impacted the market has happened. So what led to this wonderful performance?
So, to tell you frankly, anchoring on megatrends and the earnings growth has really helped us.
Mm.
While we can say markets are dislocated at times, markets have been volatile, but I can tell you markets have been quite rational in the sense that they have appreciated earning surprises on the upside. So, market has appreciated growth and growth stories. And when we picked up companies, thanks to our very strong investment philosophy, a very, very strong team in terms of research and the megatrends approach, we picked up right stocks which had some earnings surprise in the pipeline. And the earnings growth of the portfolio, we managed to keep at reasonably high vis-a-vis the benchmark.
I
And
see.
that's got reflected in the portfolio returns. So that's the really thing. The focus on the earnings, focus on the longer term, while the returns have sometimes come a little early than expected, but
Hmm.
our anchoring to earnings and fundamentals and those mega trends have really helped us.
Right, right. And I do understand, a lot of us, we were living on borrowed returns of the future, but of course the market has adjusted them. But I think wonderful, the way more than 20% of the times, I think it's really incredible. In fact, the average return for the fund also has been around 20%. That's what
Yes.
that's what we see. So if you look at the market capture ratio, if I was analyzing for the last 1 year, it's about 1.22 as of September 22nd, 25. Again, and I am discussing only for the regular plan. Now, obviously, you would have done a lot of market shifts, in terms of the market cap or the sectoral cap. So could you just highlight a bit, because the up market and the down market capture ratio ultimately leads to the market capture ratio, which is 1.2, which means you were able to, just for our viewers better to understand, you were able to catch the upside momentum much better. And of course, you could restrict the downside as well at the same point of time. And hence the market capture is 1.22 for the last 1 year. So if you could just give some inputs on that as well, please.
Yes, absolutely. So yes, your data is absolutely correct, and that is what has played out. Again, in terms of how we focused on the different segments of large cap, mid cap, small cap, we have run the strategy as a true flexi cap. It's a true to label flexi cap. And the allocations to large, mid, and small has not been static and not has been decided from a top-down perspective of our view of the markets. In
Right.
fact, it has been driven by what upsides do we see, what are the stories of megatrends that we want to play, and basis on that we had created the portfolio. So just to give you an example, from August 2023 when we launched the fund till March of 2024, March to April 2024, we were having close to 33% small caps.
Mhm.
uh, but post that, by the start of January of this year, that ratio of small caps went down to 17%.
17, from
Now,
33 to 17.
yes, and
Okay.
that was not an active call to reduce small caps. In fact, what happens is that small caps continue to outperform, and
Hmm.
our bull case scenario started to play out in many stocks, and we started
Hmm.
to trim. Just we betted on that aspect, and as we captured the whatever return we wanted to capture based on earnings, we trimmed them and moved to where the opportunities were a little higher. So eventually,
Sure.
portfolio moved to large caps a little more. From Jan onwards in this year, again, when the markets, especially the broader markets, corrected very, very sharply, those upsides in the small caps and certain pockets that I was talking about, that pockets of valuation come started to emerge, we again moved back to small caps,
Acha.
purely driven by bottom-up research.
Hmm.
And that clearly helped us to capture that small cap up move again. So that's how sticking to fundamentals, sticking to longer term trends and earnings growth has really helped us deliver what we have
Sure.
delivered in the last 2 years.
तो ऑन एन एवरेज आप मतलब कितना लार्ज कैप, मिड कैप, स्मॉल कैप में रहता है इस पोर्टफोलियो में? दो
देखिए
ऑफ कोर्स यू कैन स्विंग एनीवेयर, बट जनरली।
हाँ, देखिए जैसे मैंने आपको बताया कि हमारा अगर लास्ट 2 साल का आप देखें तो लास्ट 2 साल में हम 17% से करीबन करीबन 35% के बीच में हम लोग स्मॉल कैप्स में रहे हैं। हम 10% से लेके 17-18% के बीच में हम लोग मिड कैप में रहे हैं और बाकी हम लार्ज कैप में रहे। लार्ज कैप हैज बीन 42 to 55% इन दैट
42
रेंज।
to 55%.
So that has been the range. But again, I want to tell the viewers that we are not anchoring to the benchmark allocation. So benchmark के close to benchmark जो कि BSE 500 है, उसमें 70-75% करीबन
करेक्ट,
लार्ज कैप
एब्सोल्युटली।
होता है।
हम्म।
एंड हम उससे एंकर नहीं करते। हमारा एक्टिव रेशियो इसलिए थोड़ा हाई रहता है बिकॉज वी वांट टू टेक एक्टिव, बिकॉज वी आर अ रिसर्च हाउस एंड हम लोग एक्टिव कॉल्स लेते हैं। तो हमारा एक्टिव वेट भी आप देखेंगे तो जनरली एवरेज इज अबव 65%।
श्योर।
तो हमारा एलोकेशन बेस्ड ऑन वॉट एवर वी सी इन द मार्केट उस तरह से चेंज होता है। सो इट्स अ ट्रू टू लेबल
यस।
फ्लेक्सी कैप एंड दैट्स
आई
हाउ वी
वाज
प्लान
अबाउट
टू रन इट।
आई वाज
जी
अबाउट टू से दैट। तो हाउ मेनी स्टॉक्स आप इस पोर्टफोलियो में होल्ड करते हैं?
जी, देखिए हमारा जो रेंज है दैट इज बिटवीन 40 to 60।
40 to 60,
हाँ,
ओके।
बट राइट नाउ वी हैव अ लिटिल हायर नेम बिकॉज क्या हुआ है कि मार्केट वोलेटिलिटी की वजह से स्मॉल कैप में वी हैव टेकन अ लिटिल मोर ग्रैन्युलर अप्रोच बिकॉज लिक्विडिटी रिस्क कभी भी आ सकती है, तो वो हमें थोड़ा ध्यान रखना चाहिए, तो वो हम ध्यान रखने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। और मेगा ट्रेंड्स जो धीरे धीरे इमर्ज हो रहे हैं स्पेशली स्मॉल कैप्स में, वो कुछ ऐसे हैं जहां पे हमें पता है कि ये मेगा ट्रेंड इवॉल्व होगा एंड इसमें देयर इज अ बंच ऑफ कंपनीज हु कैन डू गुड, बट वी
श्योर।
हैव रियल क्लियर विनर स्टिल नॉट आउट। So we
श्योर।
can't have one conviction, one stock kind of idea on that mega trend. So we have bunch of stocks. So अभी थोड़ा सा tail हमारा लंबा है, but that is the range most of the time you'll find in terms of number of stocks, 40 to 60.
Sure. And approximately, since the benchmark is BSE 500, how many sectors this fund probably approximately covers?
So BSE 500 would cover whatever 8 big sectors and all the
Yes.
sub sectors, and we cover all of them. So इसमें
Okay.
दो तीन चीजें हैं जो कि मेगा ट्रेंड अप्रोच में नहीं आती है. इट्स नॉट
Hmm.
पार्ट ऑफ मेगा ट्रेंड. सो फॉर
Hmm.
एग्जांपल डायरेक्ट मेटल एंड माइनिंग इज नॉट पार्ट ऑफ द फंड, while there will be some suppliers जो वो आ सकते हैं.
Hmm.
Similarly, certain sub segments like pesticides which we feel is not a mega trend. Mega trend organic food है और पेस्टिसाइड लेडन फूड्स मेगा ट्रेंड में नहीं आते, तो वो शायद
Hmm.
इस पोर्टफोलियो में कभी हिस्सा ना बने. सो देयर आर
Hmm.
सम थिंग्स व्हिच विल नॉट बी पार्ट ऑफ दिस पोर्टफोलियो. अदरवाइज इट इज अ वेरी वेल डाइवर्सिफाइड पोर्टफोलियो.
Sure. Wonderful. And do you take cash calls in this fund as well?
देखिए, most of the time we don't. We
Okay.
believe that our universe is large enough to maneuver the portfolio very very carefully and very nicely, and we have enough opportunities. हमारा जो universe है, that is any company which is more than 2000 crore market cap. So effectively these are 1100 companies.
Hmm. Hmm.
उसमें से we have an active research of more than 400 now right now, which is
Hmm.
a very good pool of stocks where we can maneuver the portfolio depending on what we like. Until unless there is a very big event risk, that big election coming through, or which definitely is to call out, and that can change long term mega trends or fundamental of certain pockets, we don't take a lot of cash calls.
Right. Right. So also, if you could refresh, the memory of our viewers about your investment philosophy, the internal investment philosophy of InCube.
जी, देखिए, when we started, the first question and the most important question to any investment house is कि आप आउट परफॉर्म कैसे करेंगे और आपकी इन्वेस्टमेंट फिलोसफी क्या है. क्योंकि एज अ म्यूचुअल फंड वी कैन नॉट प्रॉमिस यू रिटर्न्स, वी कैन ओनली शो यू हिस्ट्री ऑफ रिटर्न्स. एंड वो हिस्ट्री क्यों रिपीट होगी? क्योंकि हम इन्वेस्टमेंट पॉलिसी, इन्वेस्टमेंट फिलोसफी जो है हमारी, वो कंसिस्टेंट रखेंगे.
Absolutely. Hmm.
एंड इन्वेस्टमेंट अगर आप देखें तो देयर इज इनफ कंपटीशन इन द मार्केट, एंड दैट इज द रीजन मोस्ट ऑफ द एक्टिव मैनेजर्स हैव डिफिकल्टीज इन आउट परफॉर्मेंस.
Hmm.
लेकिन उसका रीजन ये है कि मोस्ट ऑफ द फंड मैनेजर्स एंड द हाउसेस आर स्टिकिंग टू ओनली वन सोर्स ऑफ अल्फा, विच इज इंफॉर्मेशन एज. कि हम रिसर्च अच्छी करें, कंपनीज को मिले, चैनल चेक्स करें, ऑल सारी चीजें रिसर्च करें, टॉप डाउन देखें, बॉटम अप देखें, और फिर हम स्टॉक्स चुने. ये हम भी करते हैं, लेकिन हमें ऐसा लगता है क्योंकि कॉम्पिटिटिव इंटेंसिटी बढ़ती जा रही है. वी हैव क्लोज टू 50 म्यूचुअल फंड्स नाउ. 1600 से ज्यादा एफआईआई रजिस्टर्ड हैं, और 200 से ज्यादा बड़े पीएमएसएस हैं बाजार में, और बहुत सारे एक्टिव इंडिविजुअल इन्वेस्टर्स भी हैं. सो वी एडेड टू मोर लेयर्स विच हेल्प्स अस इन अल्फा जनरेशन. जो दूसरा लेयर है वो है क्वांटिटेटिव एज. तो हमारी एक क्वांटिटेटिव टीम है जो कि बहुत सारे क्वांटिटेटिव रिसर्च करती है. नॉट टू से कि हम एक क्वांट फंड चला रहे हैं, but these guys create a lot of enablers and screeners which help us to focus at the right thing at the right time.
Hmm. Hmm.
तो वो एक एज हमने क्रिएट किया. और तीसरा एक बिहेवियरल एज, कि हम मार्केट का बिहेवियर समझें और हम खुद बिहेव थोड़ा बेटर करें, एंड ग्रीड एंड फियर में ना पड़े मार्केट के.
Hmm.
एंड ऑल थ्री लेग्स पुट टुगेदर, which is in cube, information edge, quantitative edge, and behavioral, is our investment
Okay.
philosophy.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So how much, the SIP book this fund has been able to create now? Because that's a regular inflow coming into the fund.
करेक्ट. हाँ, सो देखिए, अभी हमारा फंड साइज इज क्लोज टू 5800 करोड़, और एसआईपी बुक इज अपवर्ड्स ऑफ 60 करोड़ नाउ मंथली, एंड इट इज बिल्डिंग.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Which means great amount of retail participation has happened in the last 2 years.
यस.
Yeah, because that's the actual strength, to keep the fund steady with inflows coming in.
Absolutely, you can back your conviction, you can continue to buy names that you want to buy, you don't have to churn sell a lot of things. So it
Yes,
really helps in fund management also. And SIP also helps the investor managing the volatility, because
absolutely.
any fund you
Absolutely.
have will have market volatility.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So we're having this, conversation at a very interesting time when, like what we were saying, September 2024 se leke aaj tak, the market has seen every possible activity which could happen. Correct. And, as we speak, there are multiple, situations still evolving and still involving us. So what do you believe, and I'm certainly not talking about the short term, I'm talking about more from a medium to long term. What's your view on the markets from a medium to a long term perspective? Do you believe the markets are, reasonably valued because we have really underperformed, the emerging markets? If you were to look at the Nifty, dollar adjusted returns, because the way rupee has depreciated almost 3.5% to the dollar, thanks to the
Correct.
outflow which has happened. So what's your thought in terms of the earnings growth going forward? Because a lot of good steps have been taken of GST rate rationalization. The CRR rate effect is also happening, the first 25 basis, which will infuse a lot of liquidity. But because the Because now I think the next trigger to watch is how the earnings growth will propel the market, because that's been very very below the expectation in the previous quarter. What's your thought on the markets going ahead?
नहीं, absolutely, and it's a very relevant question आज के समय पे. देखिए, let's look at two parts of the markets. One is the noise and second is the fundamentals. सबसे पहले हम fundamentals की अगर बात करें तो देखिए अब धीरे धीरे gradually fundamentals have been improving. You very rightly pointed out the three bazookas that the government has already used. तो अगर आप देखें सबसे पहले शुरुआत हुई जनवरी में डायरेक्ट टैक्स कट से, which is after long time government realized कि demand push की जरूरत है, consumption को boost करने की
Absolutely.
जरूरत है. So that was first step, and which was a very welcome step, and that's also one of the reasons we turned bullish and we increased our allocation to small caps as the upside emerged. दूसरा जो है much higher than expected rate cuts. 100 bips rate cut in 6 months without any big global crisis, something does not happen in India very regularly.
Yes.
तो अगर आप effectively देखें, you have a mortgage rate of close to 7% in India, which is very very attractive. Just to give you an example.
Yes.
तो आपके कॉस्ट ऑफ फंड्स कम हो गए हैं, रिस्क फ्री रेट आपकी गिर गई है, और आपने इनकम टैक्स कट किया है कंजम्पशन बूस्ट के लिए. एंड जो तीसरी चीज है वो है जीएसटी कट जो गवर्नमेंट ने किया है. सो ऑल द थ्री bazookas, indirect tax cut, direct tax cut, and monetary policy cut, all three of these things will start to play out on earnings, especially on the domestic consumption side. तो clearly हमें ऐसा लगता है we are on the cusp of cyclical uptick in the earning cycle and the GDP growth. ये clearly लगता है. And there are few more triggers, जैसे कि अगर आप देखें जो salary increase जो central government employees का होता है, that can add potentially close to 1% of GDP as stimulus in terms of demand. So consumption driven domestic economy में cyclical recovery दिख रही है, and we have good monsoons also. One should not forget that 16% of India's GDP and 50% of population is still in rural India.
Yes, yes.
And that is a big driver, and that has been good for last 2 years. So that's also positive. So ये हो गई fundamental जहाँ चीजें अच्छी लग रही हैं. Let's come to noise, which changes every week with one tweet. And nobody in the world, I think, the person I'm referring to, he also can't
by the way,
predict this.
एक कल भी आया था 100% tariff on movies outside.
जी. So it's difficult to predict those things, and because वो tweets इतने छोटे होते हैं, you just can't analyze the impact also.
Yes, yes.
Because these things make market nervous. और जब हम देखते हैं सेक्टर्स को, जैसे फार्मा पे कुछ आया, जब हमने एनालाइज किया तो पता चला कि इम्पैक्ट बहुत कम है, ना के बराबर है, क्योंकि वी आर जेनरिक एक्सपोर्टर्स.
Yes, yes.
बट मार्केट रिएक्टेड वॉलेंटली.
Yes.
सिमिलरली जब H1B वीजा पे आया, वीकेंड खत्म होने तक हमें रियलाइज हुआ कि ज्यादातर बिगर कंपनीज विल नॉट हैव मोर देन 1% EPS impact.
Absolutely.
But the markets behaved violently because there is a uncertainty that what will be the next tweet.
Absolutely.
So that is impacting the market sentiments. But one should take these things as positive. Because of this volatility, improving fundamental and a volatile market is a great combination to create a very good portfolio from a longer term perspective. This is getting you opportunity where market is hitting everybody, which is getting impacted or not impacted. There are some names where there is cyclical uptick on the offing, earnings will be improving, but because of the noise, stocks are getting punished. This is a great time to build your portfolio. Yes. I think use the noise to focus on the improving fundamentals, and that's how one should think is समय equity markets में.
Wonderful. Yes, because I completely agree. Because every morning, जो आपने कहा, it was so relevant कि every morning we wake up to a new tweet, and the entire world, behaves basis that tweet, whatever little information is available. So somehow I do believe personally is that, this wonderful GST rationalizing, the indirect tax rate cut of 1 lakh, coming to, and plus 2.5 lakh crore, जो बचत होगी एक कंज्यूमर के लिए with this entire GST rate line plus a CRR cut, इसका जो एक पॉजिटिव इफेक्ट आना था बाजार के अंदर has all got just kind of sentimentally negated because of the pharma and the H1B and various other things which are coming. So absolutely. So where do you see the earnings growth generally moving in the direction in, let's say, 1 year? And what are your thoughts on the valuations as well?
Sure. अगर मैं if I talk about Nifty, Nifty earnings growth market expects कि 25 to 27 जो CAGR है वो करीबन 11% होगा. But we believe there is an upside risk to that with the things improving, because ये जो consensus estimates है that were made before whatever GST cuts happened and those things happened. So there is an upside risk to that. Broader markets, I think mid caps and small caps earning expectations are close to 20 to 25%, which I think will play out. So broader market earning growth should be higher. Nifty earnings growth, because these are larger companies, might be a little lower, but there is an upside risk to these numbers, is what we feel, because way the things are happening right now.
Sure.
Yeah, and valuations की अगर बात करें, as I said पहले कि large caps we feel it's reasonably valued, and you could build a decent portfolio right now. Mid caps and small caps corrected well, pockets of valuations emerge, but it's not a blanket buy. You can't go ahead and buy everything. But there are pockets where valuation comfort has emerged and earnings is improving. You can pick and choose and create a decent portfolio in mid and small caps right now.
Sure. One question staying on the markets is that key, we have seen FIIs withdrawing $20 billion in the last 1 year. And that's what has actually led to the rupee depreciation very sharply. Even if you look at the YTD numbers, 2.39 lakh crore negative, net negative. And of course, DIIs, which have been saving the market with a positive 5.55 lakh crore. So today, I think if we were to say that around $4 trillion is a market cap and about 16-17% is the FPI, FII holding, which is about what, $750 billion or something. What do you believe is that the DIIs are actually compensating very largely for the FIIs, or FIIs still continue to be a very important player in the Indian equity markets?
देखिए, while you are absolutely right, last 4-5 साल में domestic flows have been a counterweight or a counterbalance to FPI selling. अगर वो counterbalance और नहीं होता तो definitely market would have suffered more with this kind of selling. But लेकिन इसमें ये भी चीज है कि because there was a counterweight, they got price they wanted to sell otherwise.
Exactly, मतलब कि आपने ये बहुत ही relevant point बोला.
हाँ, तो उनको उस वजह से एग्जिट भी मिला है, तो ये बात है. लेकिन in any sense we cannot say that FPIs have become irrelevant. That is not true. Still they own 16-17% of the total float of companies. I think उनका irrelevance कहना is not correct. They are still very relevant. लेकिन हमें एक चीज समझनी चाहिए कि generally most of us think FPI as homogeneous. देखिए, FPIs have many color. There is hedge fund FPI. There is an emerging market fund which is putting into India. There is India dedicated fund which is putting into India. And ये तो हो गए different categories. एक होता है different time horizon वाले भी. जैसे sovereign wealth fund जब आएगा
Government funds, yes.
तो वो 10 साल के लिए आ रहा है, वो नहीं जाएगा. तो आप डोंट एक्सपेक्ट कि वो $750 बिलियन जीरो होने वाले, क्योंकि लार्ज पोर्शन उस टाइप के पैसे होते हैं जो कि बहुत लॉन्ग टर्म वाले होते हैं. सॉवरेन वेल्थ फंड्स, एंडोमेंट्स, उस टाइप के पैसे, पेंशन फंड. तो दैट इज नॉट एट द रिस्क. आई थिंक नियर टर्म जो हेज फंड्स होते हैं वहां पे थोड़ा रिस्क होता है कि किसी भी भाव पे दे कैन सेल एंड ट्रेड एंड, बिकॉज उन्होंने रिडेम्पशन फेस किया है. दूसरा होता है पैसिव्स में, अगर रिडेम्पशन आया किसी ईएम में तो वहां से रिडेम्पशन आ सकते हैं, या इंडिया डेडिकेटेड पैसिव्स में रिडेम्पशन आ सकते हैं.
Absolutely.
So we cannot call them irrelevant, but we have a strong counterbalance to act, and we believe from a relative scale, both in terms of history and peer countries in emerging markets, we have become much more attractive. Not many many countries of our size offers a 10-11% nominal GDP growth, and companies offer double-digit mid-teens kind of ROEs. So I think it's quite lucrative, and there will be a point where FPIs, both tactical and strategic FPIs, will relook at India and deploy that. The way of the underperformance that we have seen within emerging markets of India will make India attractive very soon.
Absolutely. And also because until, a couple of months ago, Indian markets have, of course, have given, very good returns. So in order to, take care of their issues, Indian market became a good funding source for withdrawing and taking care of their own problems as well.
Absolutely. So that's a very relevant point. They managed to exit and managed to exit at a price they wanted to, and use that money somewhere else. But I think fundamentals are intact, and this is attractive enough for somebody else to relook India as a destination.
Great. Very positive to hear that. So through this in conversation today, what message would you like to give, to all the viewers listening to you about the flexi cap as a category and Bajaj Finserv flexi cap particularly?
देखिए, the Bajaj Finserv flexi cap fund is managed on a mega trend approach, which we take a little longer term approach, ki things that are changing around us and how it is impacting companies and the economy. And wahan se we pick up stocks from a bottom up perspective. So we are taking a longer term horizon, and that's how the investors should take this in terms of approach. It's a growth oriented strategy jahan pe earnings growth will keep it higher than the benchmark. what has happened in the last few years, especially post COVID, is that long term has become 6 months. That is not a true long term for investors. I would suggest investors to anchor their thought to
Yeah.
at least 3 years when they are investing in equities.
Yes.
And जो आपको volatility दिख रही है बाजार में, that is not a new normal. It is the old normal which is returning. If the
Absolutely
people
correct.
had forgotten for last till from 2021 से लेके 2024 सितंबर तक, people had forgotten that markets का nature होता है volatility. I think वो चीज को आप ध्यान में रखिए and look at FlexiCap from a longer term perspective. While 2 year return has been good and we expect to continue to do the work that we are trying to do, but having a longer term anchor, because we are looking at uh, mega trends which will play out in 3, 5, 7 years, and that's how we are trying
Yes.
to pick stocks.
Very
And
true.
it's a very good wealth creation engine that we have created both on based on philosophy and mega trends. I think people should stick and anchor their thoughts from longer term perspective.
Great.
It will work wonders.
You summed it up very, very well. Excellent. So, well, for our viewers, this is Mr. Sorbh Gupta, Head of Equity with Bajaj Finserv Mutual Fund. You know, a great conversation with you, Sorbh, today. As Bajaj Finserv FlexiCap Fund completes 2 years, and thank you so much for taking our time and taking us so deeply about your fund as well as about your market views and going ahead. So thank you very much for taking our time today.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.